Welcome to this video on civil liberties. This video was prepared by Hall and Harrison. Civil liberties are constitutionally established guarantees that protect citizens' opinions and property against arbitrary government interference. Civil rights are positive acts of government protecting against discrimination. The Bill of Rights and state constitutions protect civil liberties. The Bill of Rights established essential freedoms for individuals and groups to participate in the larger community. The interpretation of these freedoms has evolved over time. When a threat to the nation is perceived, limits are sometimes allowed on protected freedoms, including due process protections. The framers, remembering British censorship, viewed liberty as central to the new republic. However, the Bill of Rights contains broad principles rather than specific prohibitions, leading to disagreements on interpretation. Initially, the Bill of Rights was meant to restrict only the national government, as seen in Barron versus Baltimore. The 14th Amendment, adopted in 1868, later stated that no state shall abridge privileges or immunities or deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process. The Supreme Court rejected the doctrine of total incorporation and instead adopted selective incorporation. This approach considers each protection individually, one case at a time, for possible incorporation to the states, beginning gradually in 1925. The process of selective incorporation has been slow, beginning deliberately in 1925 and continuing today. This table highlights some key rights incorporated, the relevant amendments, and landmark court cases up to 1963. This table continues the list of selectively incorporated rights, including the right to bear arms in 2010. Note that some rights, like the protection against no quartering of soldiers, have not been incorporated. The Second Amendment concerning the right to bear arms has seen changing interpretations. In District of Columbia versus Heller, the Supreme Court ruled an individual right to possess a firearm for self-defense. This right was incorporated to the states in McDonald versus Chicago. The debate over domestic weapons laws remains prominent due to increased gun deaths and mass shootings. Interest groups argue for and against greater gun control, while issues like stand your ground laws and campus carry continue to be debated. Freedom of speech, assembly, petition, and the press is vital for an open society and democratic rule. This sharing of opinions is often called the marketplace of ideas, enabling people to voice concerns freely and fostering robust discussion and debate. There is a fundamental tension between individual freedoms protected by the Bill of Rights and the government's goal of ensuring order. Historical examples of this tension include the Alien and Sedition Acts and the suspension of habeas corpus by Lincoln. Recent mandates and legal challenges also illustrate this ongoing conflict. Historically, various tests have been used to determine when speech can be restricted. These include the clear and present danger test, the bad tendency test, and the clear and probable danger test, reflecting different standards for when the government may silence expression. The current standard for restricting speech is the imminent lawless action test, established in Brandenburg versus Ohio. Under this test, speech is restricted only if it goes beyond mere advocacy and creates a high likelihood of imminent disorder or lawlessness. Freedom of speech includes pure speech, which is just words, and symbolic speech, which is nonverbal action like protest. Unless words threaten imminent lawless action, the First Amendment is likely to protect the speaker, as seen in cases like Tinker versus Des Moines and Texas versus Johnson. Not all speech is equally protected. Commercial speech has limited protection. False statements, such as libel, which is written, and slander, which is verbal, receive no free speech protection if they harm another person's reputation. Citizens United versus FEC also extended protection to corporate election spending. Obscenity, indecent, or offensive speech is also unprotected. The court established a three-part obscenity test in Miller versus California. Additionally, the court may ban fighting words, speech that inflicts injury, or results in public disorder. The First Amendment guarantees the freedom to assemble peaceably and to seek redress of grievances against the government. However, the Supreme Court allows content-neutral time, place, and manner restrictions on expression. Prior restraint or censorship before publication is largely disallowed by the court, as seen in Neer versus Minnesota and New York Times versus U.S. This protection is critical for a full and fair discussion of national issues. Constitutional amendments related to religion, privacy, and criminal due process are essential to community building and citizens' engagement. The First Amendment's religion clauses, the Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause, prevent the government from favoring any religion, and ensure individuals can practice their religion freely. The Establishment Clause prohibits Congress from making any law respecting an establishment of religion. Interpretations of this clause vary, including separationism, neutrality, and accommodationism. The three-part Lemon test is used to evaluate Establishment Clause cases. It asks if a state program has a secular purpose, if its principal effect advances religion, and if it creates excessive entanglement between church and state. The Free Exercise Clause makes it illegal for the government to prohibit the free practice of religion. Courts must balance an individual's right to free practice against the government's need for policy. The court distinguishes between religious beliefs, which the government cannot interfere with, and religious actions, which may be regulated. Recent cases, like Burwell versus Hobby Lobby, have also extended First Amendment rights to corporations. The right to privacy is the right to be left alone and make decisions freely. It emerged with Griswold versus Connecticut and was later applied to other areas, including abortion and intimate sexual activity. Privacy rights also extend to government use of social media in investigations. The Fourth, Fifth, Sixth, and Eighth Amendments establish criminal due process rights. These guidelines ensure the government follows proper procedure when investigating, bringing to trial, and punishing individuals who violate criminal law. The Fourth Amendment protects against unreasonable searches and seizures, requiring probable cause for a search warrant. The exclusionary rule prevents illegally obtained evidence from being used in trial. The central question is whether there is a reasonable expectation of privacy. The Fifth Amendment protects against double jeopardy and compelled self-incrimination. The Sixth Amendment guarantees a speedy and public trial by jury, the right to information on charges, to confront witnesses, and to legal counsel, as affirmed in Gideon versus Wainwright. The Miranda rights further promote these protections. This table summarizes cases that have weakened the protection against self-incrimination, demonstrating the evolving interpretation of these Fifth Amendment rights. The Eighth Amendment protects against cruel and unusual punishment. The death penalty remains a debated issue regarding which crimes qualify and how execution should be carried out, with key Supreme Court cases banning and then reinstating it. The discussion about civil liberties continues, balancing individual freedom with public action, from First Amendment rights to gun laws and the rights of the accused. Meanwhile, new technologies raise concerns about government invasion of privacy. In the area of free speech, the role of parents in public education remains contentious. High numbers of book removals from public libraries and classrooms raise questions about balancing free speech with the rights of parents and taxpayers. Facial recognition technology is a prevalent new crime control technique. Critics of this biometric policing are concerned about the potential harm to civil liberties, particularly concerning surveillance and privacy. There have been public calls for greater police accountability regarding the use of deadly force, exemplified by the Black Lives Matter movement. The use of police body cameras is now common, but uniform national guidelines are lacking, leading to concerns about potential government surveillance. Freedom of the press is crucial for government accountability. However, the expansion of the internet and social media has undermined traditional media's financial viability. A key challenge is balancing online news with investigative journalism using verified sources.
Read Chapter 4, Civil Liberties.